Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your boy Charlotte Crow. We're back with another episode of 40-Year-Old Blerd. That's right, 40-Year-Old Blerd. I'm not 50, even though I got the gray hair in my beard. But I'm here today, and what I wanted to talk about, what I need to talk about is gaming. Gaming is on the forefront of culture today. We are stuck at home, and then if you're going to play with something, you might as well play with games, if you know what I mean. And today, though, I have three of what I call the kings of gaming here with me today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. These men have a foothold in what we're doing, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Earl Jordan. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man. Hey, what's going on? I'm Earl Jordan. I've done production for since like 2000. Worked on a lot of different shows, a lot of different people, but gaming has always been a sweet spot in my life because, I think the first video game someone bought in my life was my father. I think he had Pong. I think he really bought Pong. So I've been hooked since the beginning.
Okay. All right. Next up, we got my man, Bakary. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, what's up? I'm Bak, and producer. I've been around the block a few times, done a little bit of this and that. Gaming is life. I've been into it since the 1600. From tank on, it's been the deal.
Okay. And don't worry, ladies, that's not his sexy voice. That's how he usually sounds. All right. And next we got my man, Brian up there. Brian, tell us about yourself.
Let the games begin.
Yo, I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of the bunch, but game is life for me too. Like I've been gaming since like the Atari 2600 as well. Like I got two older brothers, and they like damn near 60 now. But I'm trying to tell you, my brothers. I remember not being able to buy video games, and my brothers used to like. They bought me my first Atari. So like my brothers were like my parents. I've been playing video games since Atari, and again, just being in the culture of video games and the know-how with video games. That's what I do.
Okay, cool. So, all right, here's what I want to start out with. I want you guys to tell me about where do you think the state of gaming is now, and how do we get there?
That's a broad statement because I think gaming, what it has done, it has eclipsed a lot of other entities. Like you have music, you have television, film. I think gaming, in my opinion, was looked at as like the underdog. And now if you look at where it is, there's so many of those different entities like television and film. They're attaching themselves to video games now. I think video game has become the premier catalyst for all these other brands to like make money. So I think it's bigger than all of them right now.
Okay.
I'd agree.
I think the thing about gaming right now is that it's so inclusive. You know, everybody can sit down, you know, it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, you know, your beliefs, et cetera, you know, everybody can sit down at the same table, you know, pick up a stick and get it in.
Okay.
Or get ripped up. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm one of them gamers. I'll be hiding in the bathroom on Fortnite, tearing them little kids up.
Oh
Well, somebody's going.
I was gonna say, yeah, I had to leave the Fortnite alone. It kind of surpassed me.
I think gaming is kind of like parallel to the hip hop culture, where it started as just like something that people thought was a pastime, and it ended up providing a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs. A lot of people are supporting their families off of gaming right now. And I think, you know, a lot of people from our culture are supporting their families off of gaming right now. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Okay. Well, you know, actually, let's segue into that right now, because one of the things about you guys, I mean, you're not just gamers, of course. You are producers who have worked in television and film for, I guess, almost close to 20 years now. Yeah. And you guys created one of, and I don't even know if I could say one of, I could definitely say the first and the only at the time Black video game themed shows on a major network. which was a show called Hotwired. Because what I want to really talk about is the importance of that show and why it mattered and why a show like that needs to return. First, though, Bakria, tell me what made you want to create Hotwired.
All right, well, Hotwired, the inception. So how we started. Well, I had a meeting with Reginald Hudlin, and we were discussing ideas, and we were thinking about doing, a tech show and going from there. But he just kind of threw out a broad brush idea, and I was like, okay, well, how can I flip this from my point of view? People that look like me, coming from from where I'm from. So I got with Earl, my man E, Snake. We exactly. We sat down and we just started shooting ideas, and we really didn't have like a set plan, like, okay, well, this is step 1, 2, etc. We just said, okay, what would we want to see? How would we want to go about this? What do we want to look at? Like, you know what, let's just jump in. I mean, nobody's done it before, so there wasn't a format to follow. So we just jumped right in, got on the horn, start making calls, gave him a brief, didn't really tell him too much, because I didn't want any, oh, well, I don't know, we've never heard, we've never tried, nobody's gotten their feet wet here.
Right.
So we just jumped in, got my man Flash, Shalico Gordon, got my man Flash, put together a little package, saw what it looked like, and was like, hey, you know what? I think we can run with this. And nobody was doing it from our point of view. You don't see too many guys like us in the meetings or at the events and so forth, but we were there and we had a presence. It only took a couple of times for us to come through. Like, oh, those are the Hotwired guys. So you can pick it up from there, because my man E, he jumped right in. He was like, oh, word, that's what we're doing? Why not?
Now, when was the show? What was the actual air date? The first air date for the show?
Wow.
Was that like? Well, I know it was 2006.
Yeah, it was. Before we go to the air date, to complete the Voltron that was already in place, I have to intersect how I came into Hotwire, because I don't even think a lot of people knew, but they always say great minds think alike. And literally about a little over a year before I got called to talk about Hotwire, I used to come to BET all the time because I was just running around in New York. I was a freelance journalist. I wanted to pitch a show to BET. And I said, listen, you guys got, this amazing platform, and why don't you guys have tech on there? So when they said that you guys were putting something like this together, I was all in. It just felt like we were all just going with the flow. So it was like a pioneer show when you really look at, what we did. It was the first of its kind on a major platform.
Right. So Earl, for you, like when it came to your desk, because you were already producing, you were a producer on 106 in Park at the time. At what point did you say, okay, you know what, let me stop doing this and do this? Because, like, did you feel like it was just so important that you had to be involved, or did you just say, you know what, I'm just going to take a break?
Speak on it, E.
I mean, basically, it was just me working on a project, and 106 was a great show, but I didn't have a passion for that. I had a passion for music, but I didn't have a passion I had more of a passion for gaming and the potential of what that show could be. And then I've always known Bach, and I saw him work from a distance, and we worked on a few things together. And he was like, yo, he put me to the side because we both lived in Jersey. He was like, yo, I need to talk to you. There's an opportunity for this show, and we're going to be doing A, B, and C. And, you're the only one that I reached out to. I'm really building this from the ground up.
Out the gate, I was like, E, we got to sit down. Pow wow, brother.
So we did it through, and he was on the grill, and we was talking. I was like, yo, this just feels right. You know what I mean? We both had a passion for it, and we both knew that either one of us could pick up the pieces if we were left alone or had to do something or had to work on the fly. We both knew how to do that because we did it all the time. And, you know, you really got to shout out Bach for reaching out to Reginald and Reginald for having the open mind, because remember, he pretty much just had gotten there.
Right.
He was greenlighting a lot of new content at the time, which is scary because you don't know what's going to stick and what's not going to hit. And also, we were the only, I'd say, qualified real gamers at the network at the time.
Right.
Everybody else is all music, and they were like, you know what? Yeah, you guys are doing that little game thing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they really didn't know that when we went to all these events and talking to people at Twitter and talking to all those people, they were showing us love. They were showing us love. We were the American men there.
Right.
They were showing us so much love.
So, you know, talk about that, because one of the things, actually, even before we go there, you know, was the format of the show. Now, I recall, and this is what my memory is, because just so people know, I was asked to be an editor on the show. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, like, duh. I was all in. I was like, okay, let's do it. But I know and I'm going to speak as real and clearly as I possibly can, but I know one of my grievances initially was kind of like the format, because I felt like with that show, we had enough content for that show that there needed not be any music videos involved within the show. And I recall a conversation we had, and I don't know if you remember, where I guess initially the request was, oh, we have to put 4 music videos in the show, which if you know television for a half-hour show, and we already got 4 music videos, that's half our time. That's basically all our time. So we don't have any time to show or to talk about what the show is actually about when we're showing, you know, a B2K video or some crap like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it if it's going to be that many videos. I can't do it. Right now, I'm in the mood to show our next video of the day. So here it is. Let's hop into our next video of the day. Here it is. Let's hop into our next video of the day. Enjoy. And so I think, Bach, you went back and said, look, we can only do 3. We do 3 videos because we need space for our content and everything else. How did that come out? Because I felt like there shouldn't have been any videos, but I also felt like you had to make a compromise because it was music television to put the videos in. Like, what was that about?
Exactly. Just like he said, it's like Earl said, you know, we were about games. We were about the life. We were about the gamer life. Everybody else, you know, no disrespect, but everybody was on the music. I mean, it's a music television network. So, you know, the compromise has to be there. I mean, you should have, like, some of those meetings, after a while, you know, my demeanor, after a while, you know, okay, I'm beating my head against the wall on this. Right. I'm going to have to give in order to get something out of it so I can do something. Right. You know, so, all right. The compromise was, all right, I'll have to give up a certain amount of time for music videos in order to put in my content that I want. Right. Because they didn't really know anything about the content that we were doing, and we were just running it. Right. So I had a lot of meetings where I had to explain, you know, certain things, like, all right, well, it's important that we're talking about the console because this is going to be like the biggest thing that's coming out this year. So,
Yo, remember? I remember vividly when we did that first piece on Alienware on their computers. They was like, "Well, what's Alienware? Like, we don't have that." Like, they didn't understand it. But you know what? It's weird because there was so much opportunity that they could have. That I feel personally that they could have taken advantage of that they didn't.
It was just because they didn't know. I mean, we were early with it. We were early with a lot of the content.
We broke the Apple TV to the audience. We broke the very first Apple TV to the BET audience on that show. That was an exclusive. Like, if you really look back, that was the very first one. No other network had. We had it at the same time.
Make it happen, B.
Well, no, I think we had. Well, I think Hotwired definitely had a lot of exclusives, to be quite honest.
Yeah, we had quite a few.
And one of the things that impressed me, and I don't know if I even spoke to you guys about it too, because, you know, like I'm sitting with all the footage. So I'm always sitting, I see everything. There's nothing, you know, if the camera's shooting it, I see it, of course. And one of the things that always impressed me and really made me understand that, okay, these guys really created something was, and I think you had mentioned it earlier, was how people responded when you guys entered the room. And I go back to an interview that Lamorne Morris, who ended up being the host of Hotwired, and we could talk about how he got there a little bit later, but interview Lamorne Morris did with Reginald Fils-Aimé, I can never say his name correctly, but who was the president of Nintendo.
What's going on, TV viewers? Hotwired, Lamorne here. I'm on the scene hanging out with Nintendo. Today is a very special day because I'm here, and you know why? Because I always bring the goods. Why is today being different? I'm hanging out with Reginald Fils-Aimé.
Yep.
And I looked at that footage, and I looked at even just in the connection that he had. And as animated as a guy, if you know Reginald, you know that he's an animated guy. He's a character in itself, you know? But I felt that shift happened when he was talking to Lamorne. Now, I could just put my thing on it, but I felt like he was like, wait a minute, I'm talking to a black man about gaming for a black show. And here I am, a black man, and I'm usually talking to these other guys. I don't usually talk to them. You know what I'm saying? So for him, I felt like it was like, yeah, it's starting to, the ball is rolling. Here we are. Like, did you guys feel that when you were going on these shoots and you were doing this stuff?
Wait, I do got to interject about that Reggie interview, because what we did during that interview is a piece of gaming culture. Because if you go back to that interview and play it back, Lamorne nicknamed Reginator during that video.
Reginator. We're hanging out with the Reginator right now. Reginator, what do you do for Nintendo?
I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer for Nintendo of America.
And that was Reggie's tag, Reggie Fils-Aimé. That was his tag all the way up to the end of his career. If you look at it, it says Reginator Fils-Aimé. We nicknamed him. He said, what should I call you, Reginator? And that was in that clip. If you watch that clip, that came from Hotwired. And if you look on all the blogs on IGN, Kotaku, all these popular blogs that are out now, they all called him Reginator. I don't know, but it stuck with him up until he retired as the president of Nintendo. But we got it on film that we called him Reginator.
That's crazy.
Like,
that's crazy.
So that's why we got some clout. I don't care. We got clout for that.
But that's what I'm saying. Talk about that. Like, about, because I remember also having, like, you guys talked to, I think at the time he was VP of Xbox.
Give us a little bit about where you think Xbox is going to be in the next couple of years.
Well, first off, you may not know who you're with, but I'm actually the BIG VIP. That's my gamer tag. Some people call me Notorious BIG VIP.
Okay.
So, big hip-hop fan, big gamer, so I brought that to Xbox Live.
Talk about how that shift kind of changed when you guys showed up in the room, because I believe at the time the only other gaming channel was G4 TV.
That was it.
That was it.
G4.
That was it.
So it was G4 TV and Hotwire. So
Let me
talk about like that effect.
Let me go back a little bit first. Let me go back a little bit to give you a little bit of context of what we were working with. Like, people don't really even know this because some of this stuff didn't even really air. But early on, Bakri and I were told to go to N1 basketball facilities because they dropped a video game out at the time.
Right.
We were told to create a package, right? So the way that we work, we went to the facilities. We were escorted by Troy Jackson, aka Escalade, rest in peace, who showed us much love and took us all around the whole facility. We grabbed footage of Lamorne, a new host, new to the game, playing basketball and having fun with Chris Brown, who also happened to be there.
Yes.
And we bring the package back. Not only do we bring a package back, but we brought a full 30-minute show that we shot and made out of And One. That's what type of producers we were. You know what I mean? We didn't half-ass anything. We went there. We're like, listen, all right, we're going to give you guys your little 2-minute, 30-second package, but here's also a 30-minute show to give you the real feel of the basis of what we think this show could potentially be. And I say that to say that when we went into a place, we gave it 100%. When we went into when we went to E3 or all these other places, we would go there with a war mentality. All right, we're doing A, we're doing B, we're doing C. All right, at this time we have to be here. So we have to cut through here and make this interview short, or we got to go there. And on top of that, we're still working with the new host who has needs. Who might be a little bit insecure about because he's new. Right. There's no shot, you know what I'm saying? It's just you're new. Right. And you're not, you play video games, but you're not a gamer. So you're in a world that is like, when you walk into an E3, it's like you're taken aback. You're like, what is this?
Overload.
Hold on. Tell what E3 is for listeners who may not know. Talk about what is E3.
Electronic Gaming Expo, pretty much.
Okay. So it's where everybody who makes a video game, this is where you go to show off your video game, to show out what you have coming, what you have now, and it's kind of like the biggest video game trade show in the world is E3.
And it's a place where you go if you're dropping a sci-fi film, a series, right, discussions. But keep in mind, Hotwired was not just gaming. It was gaming. Brian brought all the gadgets. He brought the technology aspect of it to there. We were dipping into animation.
The hell did you come up with Afro Samurai?
Okazaki-san has conceived his Afro Samurai idea more than 10 years ago. Since then, he has, put so many inspirations that he conceived during these, 10 years. And he developed Afro Samurai.
You know what I mean? We were the first shows that we're talking
Afro
about
Samurai.
social media. 106 in Park. Let me tell you something. 106 in Park lived off through social media. They were a BET show that basically showed other networks how to work social media for the young generation. Hotwire did that before 106 did. Actually, our connect with Twitter is how 106 actually got connected through Twitter with the big Twitter board and all that. We were the ones doing it first.
Right. If I could choose two things from when we did Hotwire that really, really stand out and make me just proud of what we accomplished together, that would be one, actually being invited by IBM to go to their chip facility. That was a big deal for us. We got a chance to go into, at the time, the leading manufacturer of semiconductors for, they had their chips at the time in the Xbox, the Wii, but for them to invite a black team into their facilities and to shoot with that was huge. And then for Tony Hawk to even want to come on our show and spend a day with us.
Right. We did have the Hawk.
Okay, so today I decided to teach some kids how to skate. As a matter of fact, my main student's a little bit late. I'm not sure where he is. Running late is unacceptable to me. Okay, I really can't have people being late.
Time for a lesson?
Yeah, you were supposed to come and I was supposed to teach you how to skate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Hawk. I'm not sure if you do that. This is Tony Hawk. Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah. With Activision, we had a lot of, when I look back, we had so many great things that we did but we were just in the moment that we really didn't realize that, this is bigger than big. Getting Tony Hawk at the top of his career with pro skating. They're just now coming out with the Tony Hawk games, remastering them over. Right. But we had him come on when he was hot.
Right.
So what we did was big when I look back at it.
You guys did the PlayStation 3 launch.
Yeah.
And when you had Ludacris and Charlie Murphy, and then everyone was outside. And then the thing is, like I said, I see the footage. Oh, there's a Hotwire. Oh, that's a Hotwire over there. That's Hotwire. And I'm like, man, this is big. I'll tell you really one quick story. I lived in Brooklyn, but at the time I was traveling uptown and I'm on the A train. And there were a group of young black kids who actually, no, let me correct myself. They were mixed. It was black and some white kids, but they were young kids. Usually they weren't like hip hop kids, but they were kind of in between both cultures and everything. and they were talking about Hotwire. They were talking about Hotwire. And it was like, oh, you know, we was talking about this, some game. I can't remember which game it was, but the kid was all excited. Oh, no. Remember we did this and this, and then on Hotwire did this. And I stood up and I was like, wait, did he say Hotwire? And so I went to him and I said, yo, did you just talk about Hotwire? He's like, oh, yeah. I was like, tell me about that. Oh, man, you know, it's this gaming show, man. It's got the brothers on there, and, you know, they talk about all these games that's coming out, and they were talking about this. And I was like, yo, like, this is resonating. Like it's hitting. Because I know one of the problems was, or at least me, because you guys know me, I had a lot of problems. But I know one of the things was I thought the show should have aired at a different time. But the show was airing at a time that I didn't think quite benefited the show.
Well, I think the show
expanded the reach that the show could have gotten, you know?
Yeah.
So talk about that though. Like could you guys fight for that, or was it just kind of like, this is the time we want to put you guys on, and that's it? I believe the show did well in ratings for what it was. You know what I mean?
For what it was, yes, but I will agree. We did air at the wrong time, and that I've had that discussion quite a few times, but it all circles back to the very beginning. They didn't understand. They weren't part of the gaming culture,
right?
You know, so they didn't know. It's like, you know, folks that are playing these games or that's into this stuff, they're going to be up. They're going to be up. They're not going to be during the day at like 3 o'clock, and that's not happening.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I had conversations about it, but you know, we were so early, and we were so early with all of our ideas and our content. You know, they weren't getting. I mean, now hindsight is of course 2020. They get it now.
Right.
They're like, wow, you know, hey, this idea was pitched 15, 20 years ago, and now here it comes circling around.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, the airtime.
But they couldn't decide on the airtime sometimes too. Like sometimes it wouldn't even come on at the time that it was supposed to air. So I just think that it was a bit of a mismanagement on the schedule. You know,
I mean, it was a product that they didn't know what to do with. You know, they had a new toy, but they didn't know how to use it.
Right. But even as the show grew, so because Hotwired was on, I want to say for at least a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, because we shot more. I have, in terms of the archive stuff, I think I have 90 episodes or
wow.
So Hotwired was on for a while. So even as the show grew, because I feel like one of the things that's a benchmark for a show is industry respect. And I recall during a Comic-Con, I believe a New York Comic-Con, where we went to interview, at the time the show was Heroes. And it was like one of the biggest shows around. Everyone was like watching Heroes, Save the Cheerleader, Save the World, that whole deal. And G4 TV was there. One thing that I recall, and like I said, industry recognition, is that we didn't have an interview schedule with the girl Hayden Panettiere, who was the cheerleader, who at the time was like one of the biggest stars, one of the hottest stars. She was really rising, and we didn't have an interview schedule. And we were like, oh, well, we should interview her because she's here. But it was a schedule that they had to keep. And I recall it like it happened yesterday. And G4 was like, oh, no, you guys could go because you're Hotwired. They'll take you. And we had our production manager, Naima, Lamorne was there. You guys were there. And you just went. It's like, yo, this is Hotwired. We want to get an interview. Oh, okay, cool. Come on in. And I'm like, to me, and you guys have more of that producing experience than I do, but to me, that is the benchmark of a successful show. A show that's really growing because the industry is now acknowledging you and acknowledging your impact and who you are. Why do you believe that didn't translate well to the company which was airing this show?
Well, I'm gonna keep it funky. Well, the first part of that question is Bakary putting the right people in the right places, and it's effort. If people care about what they're doing, they're going to find a way to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
They'll absolutely find a way to make something happen. The second part, I think, two things. One, the connection between music and gaming wasn't fully there yet because everybody at BET was more about the music and they didn't know about all the Black people at home that were playing gaming, even though they saw it and experienced it. They didn't think it was that serious or as big as it was. And let's be totally honest, there was a war going on at BET at the time. There were two feuding entities. We're not going to say no names.
It's funky.
There was two feuding entities,
Yes.
and that spilled over into what we were trying to accomplish. So not only was I going on shoots and handling business, and Brian was bringing in products, and you were in the edit, and Bakri was putting out fires.
Yep.
So we were all doing 2 or 3 jobs, and that affected the airtime, that affected our hosts, that affected the music videos that we should not have been playing. You know what I mean? Like all that were one side saying you should do this, and the other side saying, well, we shouldn't do this, we should do that. So I think that played the biggest part in why the show ended out the way that it was.
So I guess even talk about that, because is that why you believe the show ultimately ended with very little fanfare, was because of these warring entities? I mean, because it wasn't the content. It wasn't the I don't even think it was the numbers, because I think the numbers were well when it aired when it was supposed to air. So why do you guys believe that show ended the way it did? And there was nothing that was kind of next to say, okay, gaming is the way to go.
Well, there was something next. It just wasn't gaming.
Right.
Hotwired wasn't supposed to do as well as it did. It became a placeholder show. It became a show where it's like, oh, we didn't think it was going to last this long. All right, so let's hurry up and plan the next thing.
Got it.
Next thing that is more BET styled, countdown, music-based type situation.
Bro,
that's what we were trying to do. So us doing well was like, all right, we're going to let these guys do their thing over there because they can't be stopped. Right. But rest believe there's an end date. We're just not going to let them know the end date.
Right, because let me tell you, my inbox stayed, after we started getting some exclusives, like when we did Apple and Sega and a few of the other companies, my inbox, people were hitting. They wanted to be on BET. They wanted to get into the door, because I think once you guys put the shows out and put them together and edit them, once the company saw what it was like, oh wow, this really can work on this platform. Right. And then that's when they started, hey, can we get this product on here, or can we get this product, or can we put this game? So the companies wanted more. They wanted to come on the show. They wanted more.
That's correct.
They liked what we were doing. They loved what we were doing. But again, It was beyond us. It was beyond us.
Right. When, like you said, once they saw what we were doing and the direction that we were coming from, once Shalico, put his Flash put his magic on it, right, and they saw the packages, I would have some exclusives from, like, I remember we were doing the when Gears of War was dropping, and what's his name, Hideo. Remember that, E?
Yeah. I remember his name.
Man, we had ends with all these people, but the funny business going on between the factions, it really did kind of hinder what we were trying to do. Well, what I wanted to do was just hit the ground running and just let it ride. Just let it ride and do all these, just hit them from every angle. And I had the right team for that. So I was hyped. I was like, yes, we can do this, but we got to put videos in. We got to do that. I mean, the content was solid, and we had so many potential big things just waiting in the wings, just get the green light. But we were just early for it.
And on top of that, let's just call it for what it is. Other companies witnessed the power of the black dollar.
Right.
Bingo.
Other companies witnessed the power of the black dollar. BET did not. Our ad sales department didn't know how to sell it.
Oh, they sucked.
Oh my goodness.
G-Shock watches, cell phones, laptops, TVs, computers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, video games, you name it. It was a playground. It was a Toys R Us for our ad sales department, and they couldn't sell it.
Right.
It's not like they couldn't sell it. They didn't want to sell it because they didn't know. They didn't believe in it.
Well, I say they couldn't because they have the expertise too, but they refused to.
Right.
So they chose not to.
Yeah, they didn't want to sell it.
If you go now for all the award shows that they do, it's so funny and ironic that, you know, now that at award shows for all the celebrities, they have all these little tents with all these little Hotwired kind of sort of inspired tech toys inside of these tents. You got tents where they're playing gaming. You got tents where they're listening to music. They had a Rap City tent with the 360 virtual. Like they're doing everything that's technology based because, you know, like Bakri said, it was ahead of its time. And a lot of that is like, you know, especially with our culture, sometimes it's like, you know, we don't want to accept what's new and because it feels a little different and it kind of is a little dangerous. You know what I mean? We don't know if it's going to win or lose.
So is that what you think? Well, I won't tell you what you think, but do you think like basically because you guys were kind of first out of the box, you were the only black show doing gaming and tech, you know what I mean? And even being involved in movies, because I remember some, you know, movie junkets we did that were like, you know, gaming involved and things like that, like Fast and the Furious and all this other stuff. Like,
yeah.
Do you guys think that being the first one out the gate with that is what is also kind of like a detriment to the show? Because like black people playing games, like we're not known for that, as they say. We've all can have if you ask most people, a lot of people, they'll tell you how yes, we had an Atari, we had this, people used to play Nintendo, blowing the cartridges, all this crap or whatever. But then it's like, it's hard for them to wrap their head around someone who's actually, you know, a gamer who looks like them. Like, do you think that was just too hard for African-Americans at the time that weren't, you know, young to understand? Or do you simply think like, it was just like, you know what, we don't get it because we don't want to get it?
I think it was overlooked. I think it was just, you know, we're all doing this and everybody here is on this and you guys are over there doing that and that's cool, but that's not this. And this is what puts the bread on the table.
That's as simple as that there.
And, you know, to the other detriment, it wasn't, you know, you can understand, Shalako, because you you edited the pieces where we did with the live straw that are actually saving people's lives.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, or we can talk about Virgin Space Travel Flight, which you're just doing now that we were talking about in 2006, where normal passengers can spend a whole bunch of money and they can fly into outer space. We were doing
that. I remember that one. Yeah.
Those conversations being had.
And it's funny that you even said the life straw because I remember you guys gave me a life straw.
Yeah.
And then when I went on vacation to the Dominican Republic with my life straw. And then I used it. And then everyone was like, oh, well, what is this? I'm like, it's a life straw. And people went to look into it and everything. And I mean, like I said, I know because I was a part of it, I may be a little bit biased, but I felt like the impact that show could have had, you know, is massive. Like, and it annoys me, not from a egotistical way, but just simply from a cultural standpoint that no one's talking about. Yeah. Like, it annoys me that esports now is the largest, like the largest sporting event now in the world. That, you know, you got kids playing video games who making millions now. You got all of these, you know, these gaming, like I said, these gaming events. And then, you know, I remember I went to my first esports event that was in the Madison Square Garden. It was packed. You know, all of these things. And then don't tell me you're going to go in there, you're going to see one face. You see all the faces and you see a whole lot of us because we are a part of tech. We are a part of gaming. We are a part of these things. And it really, I'm being honest, it does bother me that no one talks about that. How do we get people to talk about it? You know?
Now it's out there. It's out there now.
How do we talk about Hotwired? How do we say, yo, Hotwired did this? Hotwired started this. You know what I mean? This came from Hotwired. How do we do that?
Timestamp and throw them pieces out there. Timestamp and throw Reggie out there. Throw what we did with Reggie. Throw the first Apple TV on a major black network out there. Throw all the stuff that we were first with and groundbreaking with, and out and put it out there as like a time capsule. This is where it started for our culture. We did a lot of that first. So I think the information should be somehow put out there, however the legal way we can do it.
Well, let's talk about the fact first of all, it's home cooking. Does the network of BET do history on all the stuff that network has created and brought to the culture in general? No, they don't.
Wow.
Sadly, they don't.
So you'll never know a lot of the little gems that happened there unless you were there, or unless you know somebody that was there. You know what I mean? Like we were literally at an event and we saw Reginald Hudlin because he was doing a signing and he was creating some other stuff for his other projects because he never stopped doing what he loves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He never stopped doing like award shows and comics, and because that's what he loved.
Right.
And he was open-minded, and let's talk about Lamorne with comedic timing. He was just getting started.
Right.
If he had a little more time, he would have been an icon in not only in the gaming world, but in the comedic world through gaming.
Right.
Right.
I remember some of those skits. I can't recall which video
Hotel.
game it was. I think it was SSX. And you guys
Ice
went
Hotel,
to the Ice
Canada.
Hotel in Canada, and then he did the whole thing in his thermal
Underwear?
Yeah,
He
in his
woke up
underwear
early the
basically
next
in the
morning.
snow, which was funny. I thought that was.
And that was his idea. It was like, I want to run around in the snow in my underwear and look like I'm. And as producers, we're like, okay, we can do that. Let's do it.
Yeah. It was. I thought that was actually pretty clever, man. So where do we go from here? Because I know, like I said, I look at gaming now. I look at a guy like Sonic Fox, who I think he's
killing it.
He's like the number one, esports guy. I think was it Mortal
killing
Kombat or something like. He's the man. What I mean, he's an LGBTQ member. He's black. I mean, and it's like things that we didn't think we'd see 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. But this is where we are now. And like I said, for me, that Hotwire was part of that birth. You understand what I'm saying? So where do we go from here now? What's next now as far as African Americans in gaming and the role that we play in gaming? What do you guys think?
The platforms are already out there. I mean, it's just where you want to go. I mean, the platforms are there. I mean, online, you can do anything. You don't have to worry about factions, rivalries, or anything. You can go straight to the people and give it how you want to, without any compromise. I mean, the platforms are there. It's just a matter of what you want to do and how far you're willing to take it. I mean, because the platforms are there, and you don't really need an outrageous budget to do anything. I mean, you got an iPhone or a phone. You can make stuff happen.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's another component to it as well, and that is the component of perception in our community of video games. Because I can't tell you how many times when I used to play video games, mom would be like, "Turn that video game off." I think that in our community, video games are looked at where it's not really shown. I think other cultures have monetized it in a good way. There's so much that we bring to the table that we're not taking advantage of. A lot of us can draw our asses off. There's so much art in video games. You look at animation, Grand Theft Auto. There's so many different ways that our culture and our people can get into video games. And there's so many opportunities available, but you have so many other cultures in there because I think as a whole, we don't realize. We just see the end product. We see the Grand Theft Autos and we see the Call of Duties, but we don't see the back end of that and the opportunities that are there to make those things. And you can be educated and still play video games and have a passion for it. And you may become one of those programmers on the next Call of Duty, or the team don't always have to look a certain way.
Right.
There's not a lot of us on the back end of that. When if you look at like some of the major like game companies, you have I don't want to screw his name up, but Hideo Kojima, and you have the the Miyamotos, and you have all these iconic names. But where is the Bakuris and the Bryans? You know, where are the Bakuris and the Bryans? How come, just truth be told, and I don't want to call any particular companies out because I love playing their stuff, but if you look at some of the top, Grand Theft Auto is our culture, but it's not made by us.
But see, okay, but I'm glad you actually even brought that up, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because that's be my last question. Like, how do we get into that? How do we start actually making the games? You know what I mean? Like everyone, I was on today, and someone was talking about, oh gosh, what was it? What culture of wrestling? And the guy was talking about the Def Jam fighting game. You know what I mean? Like the one that was
goodness,
Def Jam or something like that, whatever, right? And then I
was just talking about that game the other day.
Yeah, I remember
crazy story.
We didn't make that game though. It was about the rappers were in it and all that stuff. It was black and it was, but I know because you guys covered it because Hotwired covered it. So right? I know who was behind the scenes in making that game. You know, the guys who made Fight Night and all this other stuff. So I know who those guys were, but we didn't do it. And this game was essentially a black game. It was our game. So how do we get behind the scenes of that? Like we're fighting to get behind the scenes of the movies. How do we get behind the scenes and actually start making these games?
It's educating. Yo, between even the young generation now, there's so many producers that are on Fruity Loops. There's so many songwriters. There's so many animators and like people that can draw. Those three things right there, you can get into eventually either doing art design or scoring. There's so many, I think it's a lack of knowledge that, there are big opportunities out there if you do these basic things. Perfect example, I was talking about this kid. He created the game Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is a game about farming. It's a play off of the old Harvest Moon thing. But this one kid by himself programmed a game, and now he's 40 million in the tank. He's rich. This one dude. So what I'm saying is that there are ways, and if you have those basic skills, the tools are easier now to develop. So I just think it's a perception that, I can't do that, so I'm gonna just wait until the next Call of Duty come out, but you can make it.
I think it's definitely knowledge. And it's like the old martial arts films, man, where the student becomes the master. You used to play games. We have a story. Our culture comes from an abundance of stories. Right. The main thing about a gaming nowadays is a strong story.
Story, right.
So, I mean, I think now, unfortunately and fortunately, with all things that's going on with society, they are going to be looking for our story now.
Right.
We have to be available and open-minded and be able to tell our story truthfully and still be creative. Prime example, Watchmen. Never knew that was going to come out like that. Right. Amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But we all read Watchmen as kids.
Exactly.
We all knew it, you know what I mean? But then it's like, now you see it and everyone's like, I didn't know anything about that. Like, wait. We knew Watchmen. You know what I mean?
The HBO special, they flipped it. I didn't know that they were going to put it on it. I didn't know it was going to be like that. I had no idea.
Yeah. Right, but we didn't make the game, and that's my point.
Oh, you didn't make the game, right?
And it's like Brian says, it's knowledge. You got to, it's our generation has to teach the younger generation that these tools are available to you if this is your passion. Or even if it's not your passion, you just want to try it. Right. You might like it. You might love it.
Right. All right. Well, I think we could talk about this for quite some time. I know I can. And I mean, because I'm in a place now, where I'm like my son is coming up, and he wants to play his video games and he loves his Maddens and his MLBs, and I'm trying to kind of shift him more towards these kind of role-playing games, like you said, story-based games and everything. But I just love the way that he kind of takes to it. Do you know what I mean? And how I see him and me and what I did and how I did it. And I think, like you said, that there's a generation that could come up and not only play it, but actually make it and be a part of it. So I'm always all in on games. Everyone knows I love my movies and everything, but gaming also to me is just another avenue of storytelling. But I want to wrap this up by basically saying to you guys, all three of you. Like, I feel like I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of, to me, the something that's groundbreaking, and that was historical.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hotwired would always have a place in my heart. I do still have some of them old clips, so if you do start seeing them floating around on the internet, I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to put them out, but
they need to be out. That's what we say. Education. They need to be out. We need to educate.
Keep your eyes peeled. Who knows? You know what I mean? I did raid that library before, Nikki locked that door. So, I just I appreciate what you guys did. And never think that it wasn't worthwhile. You know what I'm saying? Never think that you didn't have an impact and that you didn't create an impact. And I think that you guys are pioneers in gaming, especially for African Americans. And I think that, we have a spot now. It is kind of our time now to build more. You know what I mean? And to build more in gaming and African Americans, for African Americans, and to take it to the next level. So, any final thoughts on that?
I'd say, I think the future of gaming is going to be what it is now, the combination of sports games and like The Sims. Like, everybody wants to not only be the best person on the basketball court in NBA 2K, but you want to have the mansion outside of the game. You want to have all these other material things outside of the game. So they're bringing like they've done the neighborhoods, but they're just going to expand more and more and more and more and broader and broader. And that is digging deeper and deeper into our culture.
Bob, any final thoughts?
Man, he just summed it up right there.
All right. Brian, I know we got all your thoughts. So
now you ain't got them all. Hotwired. You ain't got them all. Hotwired was it personally for me, it was a game changer in my life. It gave me so many things, and it even when I left, even when we dismantled, it catapulted me into probably one of the best experiences of my life, and that was being hired for PC Magazine, as their gaming guy. I stayed with them until they stopped doing print production. So, and I got that because of Hotwired.
I have to admit, Hotwired was a very special time for me. I got a chance to get with my brothers and do something that nobody else had done yet. I mean, I don't think they've even done it yet. I don't think we've been duplicated.
Nah, I don't think so either.
I don't think we've been duplicated, but that was something special, and it was a lot for those that didn't know. I mean, if you know,
right?
But it was a lot for some people to take in because it was so early and it was so fresh and it was so new.
Right.
So I'm glad I got a chance to take that step with my team, because I couldn't have asked for a better squad than what I got. And you guys made it happen day in, day out. We stayed on it.
Man.
Everybody had their own job, their own lane, but we all came together. Regardless of all the fires I had to deal with, Hotwire was definitely worth it. And yeah, Chalico, you're right. We did have a presence, and our presence was felt.
Yeah.
When Earl and I would come in the room, they knew what time it was. They knew who we were.
Yeah.
And BT helps a lot. That's a nice something to have in your back pocket. But they were dealing with us on the strength of who we were and our work.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And you should definitely be proud of that. There you go.
So
yeah, we'll definitely talk again. Especially maybe around when the PS5 drops. Because I know me and my a Sony whore self, I'm going to be the first one to buy it, and I'll be there, and glitches and all. But I'm pretty sure I'll get it. But like I said, once again, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. This was actually a lot of fun, very informative. Brian, once again, is just showing off his controller that he knows I'll never get. So, I appreciate that. But take it easy, brothers.
Yeah.
Keep gaming. And we will definitely talk again soon. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate everyone checking out the show.
Pleasure. All right. Thank you.
Peace.
All right.
All right.
Peace.